Hey everyone, and welcome back to another news alert. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and thank you so much for tuning into Boyd News. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this. And feel free to support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links are in the description below the video. All right, great to see you all back again. I've got a huge report to share with you regarding the US and NATO. A new exclusive report breaking on mainstream news outlet Reuters today is stating that the US Pentagon is demanding Europe to take over the bulk of responsibility for the majority of the alliance's non nuclear defense capabilities from the US by 2027. If not, they threaten to begin partially withdrawing support from some of its defense coordination with NATO allies. Here's this new update for you on your screen. US to Europe, take over NATO or face American withdrawal by 2027. Behind closed doors, US officials are pushing allies to assume the bulk of NATO's conventional defense by 2027 or risk losing American leadership in planning and strategy roles. Okay, so here we go. We've got officially a deadline coming out from the US calling on Europe and saying, hey, you guys need to be ready to defend your own backyard. If not, the US is going to start withdrawing support by 2027. That's really not that long from now. That's just about a year's time from today. And if Europe isn't ready, what is the US going to do? How are they going to start to withdraw? We just had reports a few weeks ago that the US was withdrawing support from Romania. They pulled out something like 800 troops over there. I think they've left around 1,000 or so. But we're starting to see this, okay? We've known for a while now that the US was going to withdraw support from Europe, and it looks like they're fast tracking this now. They want Europe to step up to the plate. If not, they're going to start pulling out, guys. So let me start showing you the data regarding this story today. We're going to hop on over to a mainstream news report from Stars and Stripes. It says U.S. sets deadline for Europe to lead NATO by 2027, report says. This coming out today, December 5th, 2025. And it says here the Pentagon wants allies in Europe to take over the bulk of defense responsibilities on the continent no later than 2027, according to a new report that could carry significant implications for how American troops are deployed. Defense Department officials told their Western counterparts in Washington this week about the new deadline, Reuters reported Friday, citing 5 unidentified sources. U.S. officials said during a meeting that they remain unsatisfied with the progress allies are making when it comes to bolstering their own military capabilities, and that if allies miss the 2027 deadline, the U.S. could stop participating in some NATO activities, Reuters reported. The report did not detail how the U.S. could scale back its missions or what specific conventional military capabilities might be withdrawn. It was also unclear whether the 2027 deadline was representative of President Donald Trump's view on the matter or just the outlook of certain Pentagon officials, Reuters said. Top Pentagon officials have repeatedly said the U.S. expects other NATO countries at some point to take on the bulk of the conventional security burden on the continent, a reference to various non-nuclear capabilities. While the U.S. has long been the provider of weapons for NATO's nuclear mission, American troops also provide substantial conventional capabilities in the form of ground forces, warships, fighter planes, and command and control systems. Okay, so this is not good news to hear about. This all comes on the backdrop of all these stories that potentially by the end of the war with Ukraine and Russia, possibly soon after, we're hearing some dates like maybe 2028, 2029, Russia could be ready to wage war with Europe. What's going to happen if the U.S. completely pulls out? What if the U.S. gets involved with Taiwan or something and China, and then all of a sudden Russia's going to be ready to launch this attack onto Europe? So I'm sure Europe is very worried right now. They've got a fire under their bums, forcing them to have to get ready within a year's time, and it's really not a lot of time right now. Imagine a lot of these defense companies inside of Europe that are not ready. Okay, this could possibly take them a decade or longer just to get some of these systems back up and running and producing military equipment again. So Europe's definitely going to have to move quick on this, or the U.S. going to start to pull out, according to this report. A little bit more information here. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, European countries have ramped up defense spending in response to concerns about potential Russian aggression. NATO members have also agreed to increase their military spending levels to 5% of gross domestic product by 2035, in line with the demand by Trump that NATO's defense spending benchmark be elevated. Still, security analysts have noted that it will take years for allies in Europe to develop the capabilities the U.S. brings to the table. An American military withdrawal from Europe by 2027 could leave capability gaps. Yeah, imagine if they pull away, critical equipment over there, whether it be fighter jets, whether it be intelligence or anything like that, closing down certain military bases over there. This could not be good for Europe moving forward, right? And if they were to go to war with Russia, what's going to happen? And is the U.S. going to come and back them? Indeed, if NATO had to go it largely alone in the event of a Russian attack, European allies would face a daunting challenge, experts say. At a minimum, it would need to field 50 new combat brigades and some 300,000 troops to offset the loss of U.S. support, according to an analysis earlier this year by Bruegel, a Brussels-based think tank. To prevent a rapid Russian breakthrough in the Baltics, for example, Europeans would need a minimum of 1,400 tanks, 2,000 infantry fighting vehicles, and 700 artillery systems, the February report said. This is more combat power than currently exists in the French, German, Italian, and British land forces combined, the report stated. So this tells me that, Europe is not ready for this, guys. If the U.S. starts to withdraw support, they're completely left on the hook here. If they get attacked by Russia, can Europe sustain the fighting on their own? It's looking highly unlikely at this time. We know that they rely heavily on the U.S. support. That's why U.S. troops are deployed over there. But Trump is clearly getting out of Europe. He does not want to be involved anymore. And we're hearing that he wants to deploy a lot of these troops actually to the Indo-Pacific to counter China now. Europeans also would need to surge beyond the bare-bones stockpile of munitions currently available. An estimated 1 million 155mm shells would be the minimum for a stockpile large enough for 90 days of high-intensity combat, the report said. The various necessities would cost more than $250 billion annually, or roughly 3.5% of gross domestic product for European countries, according to Bruegel. So we can see why this war in Ukraine it's so critical to make sure that Ukraine gets the proper security guarantees to end this war. We need to make sure that Russia's not going to attack a European nation. Russia's come out so many times saying they would never do this, attacking another nation. Let's say, for example, a NATO nation like the Baltics, maybe Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, or something like that. I think it's highly likely if this starts to happen and the U.S. starts to withdraw support from Europe, this is going to send a signal over to Russia that if they want to launch this attack, is the U.S. going to come and back these European nations, especially when they're giving them this deadline and saying, hey, you guys need to assume the role of area responsibility for your own nations, defend your own backyard. If not, we're getting out. Okay, so definitely not a good look here, and more division that's appears to be created between the NATO alliance with Europe and the United States. And the U.S. isn't playing around. They want to start moving a lot of their troops out of Europe and over to the Indo-Pacific. So guys, let me know what you think about all this, though. I'm curious to know what you're thinking, and share your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. But that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.